It's been 2 years since Gutenberg became part of WordPress core. In meanwhile, the block editor has matured tremendously. Have you tried extending its functionality? Now, in this lightning talk, Greg Ziółkowski will give us introduction to the scaffolding commands to develop your own custom Gutenberg block. Zigors or Greg is a passionate code wrangler, an open source contributor based in Poland. He writes JavaScript at Automatic and contributes to WordPress core. Greg, we are waiting for all those scaffolding commands.
Hi, this is Grzegorz from Automatic. I hope you are doing well in these difficult times. Can you believe that's been 2 years already, long before this pandemic started, when Gutenberg got introduced in the WordPress core? In the meantime, the block editor has matured tremendously. Using blocks steadily remains the primary way to enrich the way users create content with WordPress. Some new exciting ways let you defer decision to build custom blocks. Those are, among others, block directory, block patterns, or the pre-existing reusable block feature. Indeed, they speed up the process of publishing posts and pages. However, I don't plan to cover this type of capabilities today. Instead, I want to focus on the case when you decide to build a block. You might ask now, why should I do it? Well, before anything else, you can do it just for fun, or to explore what the block editor has to offer. Later, it doesn't take that much time to discover that WordPress core is missing a certain service integration you need, or use a common UI element that is missing. In the future, the possibilities will become endless as soon as the blog-based full-site editing feature rolls out. Now, I'm aware that it might feel very challenging to make the first step and start developing inside the JavaScript-based architecture. It applies even when you have strong PHP background. This is why the team behind Gutenberg provides a set of WordPress blog development tools that were designed to make the whole process more streamlined. I will show now how to make the most of the block scaffolding command that will let you save hours when building your first block. Before I start the demo, I'd like to show you the block editor handbook. It contains several tutorials where one of them is create a block tutorial. So now I'm going to recreate the same block that is presented in this comprehensive documentation. However, I won't go step by step and repeat the same instructions here because it would take too much time, and also it will be much more exciting when I will use the scaffolding tool to do it. I am now in the Visual Studio Code editor. I have Node.js installed on my machine. Now I will run this command. It uses WordPress create block npm package that is installed and executed using an external template that generates the same version of the block that you can build with the tutorial. And it also uses WPN flag that enables WordPress development environment. Now it's in the interactive mode, which lets me customize the block. First, I can change the name of the block and the folder. I can change also the namespace. I will use my GitHub handle. And I also can change the title of the block that's used inside the inserter. And there is many more options to set. I will go with defaults to speed it up. Now it generates a basic structure for the folder. You can see it on the right side. There is assets folder and source folder, and there are some files. So it contains on PHP, JavaScript, CSS, and everything else you need to create a block. It's wrapped in the structure necessary for WordPress plugin, and this is to make it easier to integrate with WordPress. This way you can copy this folder over to the plugins inside the WordPress site and activate it there, and you will be able to use this plugin. It also contains block.json file that contains all the necessary metadata to publish your blog to the blog directory. And if we go back to the terminal and check what's happening there, you can see that the npm dependencies are being installed at the moment, and it might take a couple of minutes. And at the moment we have WordPress scripts package being installed, which contains a collection of reusable scripts. So all the packages are installed to this node modules subfolder that contains at the moment tons of folders, which means that there are so many smaller npm packages installed from the registry. And now let me also present the entry point for the plugin. So it contains a metadata specific for the plugin creation, which is something common, and it contains all the necessary PHP code to register a blog, which is JavaScript code, CSS files, and there is also blog registration. If we go back to the terminal, we will see that now something else is happening. JavaScript files are being formatted to follow coding standards, and the block is being compiled, and now WordPress env package is being installed. So one change you can notice now, if you go and look at the right side, is that there is a build folder. So this scaffolded project contains source folder that's used only for development, and the build folder, it is what the plugin will use to serve in the browser. And the scaffolding process has ended at the moment. So now if we scroll up, we will see a message that everything is done. There are some recommendations what you could do using WordPress scripts, reusable commands, and finally it informs you about next steps you could make. So let me enter WordCamp India folder and run command that will start WordPress. Usually it takes a couple of minutes. However, I've used this environment before, so everything is cached locally. When I click on the link in the terminal, it opens a test WordPress site. Now let's log in to the dashboard. I check the plugins page to ensure that the block is already activated. Now I can go and create a new post. Let's search for our blog. It's already there. Now I can type something and publish the post. On the front end it should look very similar. Okay, now I'm back in the editor because I want to show you how to develop using this configuration. So if we scroll up, we will see that there is npm start command highlighted. And we will run this command soon, but first I want to show you the difference between build and start. So if we open this file, we will see that the initial version is optimized for production use, so it has CSS and JavaScript minimized for publishing. However, during the development, we will want to use a different version that allows us to do debugging and this sort of stuff. So once this command is run, it doesn't exit because it runs in the watch mode. It means that whenever I will change JavaScript or CSS file that is references in the source folder, this terminal will have some changes applied. So let's go to the source folder and modify edit.js file, which contains the block editor representation of our blog. There is edit component that we will modify. So let me change something in the JSX here. Let's write a word hello, and once I save it, you could see a quick change on the terminal, which means that the changes were applied to the output folder. And let's look in the build folder. As you can see that there is more files now, including source map. And if we go to the index.js file, which is an entry point for this JavaScript code for block, you will see that it looks completely different. Now, if I go to the browser and refresh the page, you will see that this hello word is applied. And we have just developed a custom block in less than 10 minutes. Isn't it exciting? I hope that I convince you to try all the presented tools next time you develop for the WordPress block editor. I'm sure it will improve the onboarding experience since it's only one command you have to run. It assists you in the process and helps to make decisions by asking only key questions. There are also code comments included in the generated files that contain links to external resources. It's also worth emphasizing that you don't have to use all that I presented. Still, the recommended configuration exists to inspire you and to help discover what works best for you. Finally, I encourage you to check tutorials in the block editor handbook. They include much more detailed information I couldn't cover in such a short time. You can learn there at your own pace about 3 main areas I covered today. They have corresponding npm packages that you can use in your projects, and those are WordPress and that help you with setting up your local WordPress environment. There is WordPress scripts that make it easier getting started with JavaScript and WordPress, specifically around build tooling or using code quality commands. And finally, you can recreate manually the same block I generated in the demo by using WordPress create block package. If you have further questions, I would be happy to answer them on WordPress Slack, Twitter, or GitHub. You can find me there using my username GZIOLO. That's all I have. Thank you for listening.